Hello, hello, hello. It is Lauren McGlamory with Moving Bravely, and I have to just say that this is an incredible milestone that this podcast is reaching and this movement is reaching, because it is such an important part of how I view my mom's legacy. She was a journalist. She interviewed in you just couldn't even compare her to anyone else. She really drove hard for the inspiring stories. She would get at people's deepest thoughts and give them a comfortable space to share them. So, this is the first of many Brave One interviews. And I am so excited to introduce Julie, who is just an incredible force for good. She is a real life superhero. She has gone through tremendous loss and has found herself through the process and found people and found love. And it is just an incredible story to hear. So you're not going to hear her story from me. You're going to hear it straight from her. And this is the first Brave One interview. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so we are live and here with Julie, who is Powerhouse Barbie. And so this is so exciting because this is a huge milestone for Moving Bravely, for me, Lauren McGlamory, because I feel like this is the closest thing I can get to living my mom's legacy, and it is interviewing people who have really powerful stories, who are doing awesome things, who are inspiring and just living life. So Julie is one of those people. And so I would like for you, Julie, to just share us a little bit about your backstory. Who are you? What do you do with your life and your days? And we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this. When you were telling me about it, I just was like, oh, this feels like something I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I think we've had that conversation before too of, I don't know, this just feels right. And so I'm just really excited to be able to get to share. Um, so let's see. I don't know where to start other than, so my name is Julie. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina originally and still live there. I have a wonderful family. I was the youngest of four girls. My poor dad lived in an estrogen ocean.
Gosh.
He loves it. He used to say, I asked him all the time, I said, did you ever want boys? And he always said, no, little girls are so sweet.
Oh, sweet.
And he just absolutely loved it. He was my person, he was my role model. He was who I wanted to be. He was an electrician and a handyman. And so he taught all of us how to be super self-sufficient and independent. And so that's a lot of the spirit that I like to live in is a place of power, a place of strength from within, of industriousness, of getting things done and accomplishing goals. He really kind of instilled that work ethic in me. And in all of my sisters, not just me, but I'm the baby, so I was daddy's girl. I was the youngest.
Oh,
so he passed in late 2016, which was probably the hardest thing I have ever done. And went through. I was his primary care person for years. So I was there for every doctor's visit, all the medications, making sure he ate, for multiple surgeries over multiple years. I was the point person, the contact. I even sold my home when he got really sick and moved back in with him to make sure I could take care of him because I worked from home at the time. So and then when hospice came in, they kind of tag teamed with me so I could get some sleep or take a shower. So yeah, that was really hard, and losing him has probably been the hardest part of my life up to this point. So yeah, I guess my journey with fitness though happened after that. So I was always heavy. I was always the heavy kid. From about 5 onward, I could tell that I was different from other people, that I wasn't the same. I got bullied really, really heavily. Middle school was the worst, and high school, even after that too, in college, and then even in my marriage. I married a man, and he just wasn't a nice person, and he just, wasn't kind or compassionate or giving. He was rather an abusive personality, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And all of that contributed to me eating and eating and eating. I ate when I was anxious. I ate when I was afraid. I ate when I was sad. I ate when I was bored. I would sometimes eat and not remember eating, like kind of like when you do things when you're drunk, like, sort of blacked out or browned out, like eating, and sort of kind of after it was over, sit there and go, what just happened?
Yeah.
Um, and so it was kind of, that was just my life, from like 5 to about 28, 29. It was my coping mechanism. And finally, I had just one too many bad days. I remember I was sitting at work. I had just gone to a party with some friends. I felt really good about myself, like, oh, I look good. I dressed up. We were taking pictures, and the pictures that I saw of myself, I was just like, who is that? Because it doesn't feel like me, but that's me. And I just looked sweaty and like sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes when you're overweight, you just have that like kind of sweaty, glossy look about yourself. You're just like puffy, almost like bloated, but like my whole face and my whole body. And I just was like, that's it. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of hating myself. I'm tired of not taking care of myself. And so I decided to start seeing a therapist. I actually worked at a therapy office, and they gave me a good recommendation for somebody to go see. And the first time I met her, we sat down, we clicked. She's great. I love her. She's amazing. And she looked at me and she said, Julie, do you realize you have an eating disorder? And I went,
Yeah, like what is that? What? Me?
what? What? I don't look like someone who
Right.
has an eating disorder. When you hear those words, you sort of instantly kind of think of like people who are super thin or that have a trouble like keeping weight on. I had the opposite problem. And she was like, no, Julie, this is disordered eating. This is kind of what you have. This is, you kind of fall into this category of people who, aren't bulimic and they aren't anorexic, but they definitely have an eating disorder. So officially I got diagnosed in January of 2018 with what's called OSFED, which is otherwise specified eating or eating disorder. So it's kind of the catch-all of those other two big ones. And I just cried. I just sat there and cried because she looked at me for the first time. Somebody looked at me and said, you know what? Your weight is not your fault.
Yeah.
Like blown away because I spent years telling myself that it's because I didn't work hard enough or because I didn't want it enough or because I just was supposed to be that way. I think a lot of people, sometimes when you're stuck in something like that and it's hard for you to lose weight and you try and you try. I mean, I had started and failed more diets than I care to mention.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
I would make some progress and then get discouraged, or I would make some progress and then give up, or I would, I'd say, okay, well, that's enough. And I finally, like, after hearing, it's like, oh yeah, no, your brain is actively working against you because it's the only way for you to defend yourself. And I was like, blown away.
Well, I'm just so thankful. Like you're just as much as you told of your story so far, because it's leading us, like you're hitting on so many things I think a lot of people are really, really craving to hear. And the things that are screaming at me so far is loss. I gave all of myself to this person who is my everything because they would have done it for me, right?
Yeah.
We can relate on that a lot. And then,
not recognizing ourselves after a certain point. Like that's a big shift, and a very relatable, like looking in a mirror to me.
Yeah.
It was like, I start to not recognize who I am and be out of control about it too is powerful. And then you started to see someone, and then it took someone else to then help you realize your power and what you have and what you can do and all those things. So I want to dig a little deeper, because now that you've painted this picture of, a little bit about who you are, and we're going to get more into, I guess, like who you are currently today, and then into like where you're moving. But yeah, like you said that there was just like this point where you're like, that's it, right? So and then you had that person come alongside of you, but like, what was your driver? Like what motivated you to really make the change? Because that's a lonely road to go down. Starting with like, I've done these diets and people just look at you and like, you're just doing another diet, and you're like, no, really this time I'm really
this time I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So what was it?
Part of it is that, I devoted 10 years of my life, to someone else completely. I devoted 10 years of my life from 17 to 27 caring for someone. And so I kind of lost my identity. After that, of like, that was in my mind, my purpose, and after losing that, it was like, well, who now can I commit to? And I chose to commit to myself for the first time in my entire life. You know what I mean? And so I think my driving motivation was partly, you've never done anything really for yourself. And so like that was a big motivator. And also, it was also a big motivator because my dad died of health problems, and they're health problems that I was kind of on my way to having. And I didn't want that, and not what he wanted either. And part of that, still working for him and with him, even though he wasn't here, he was a big motivating factor for me.
Yeah, that is, God, I think that's where our paths crossed, actually. Do you remember what year that was when we crossed paths?
Oh, God, it was Heroes Con, and I can't remember what year it was.
It was in the midst of this. It was like you had started your journey. It was after your dad had passed on, but and I think it was after my mom had passed, and I had entered the same journey, because that was kind of her last gift to me, was like, here's this thing that will help you in your brain and your body, and like do it. And so I was on that journey and I had no idea you were on your journey, because I didn't know you before that. So you were just Supergirl to me, and I was like, let's take a picture because we are two superheroes, right? So which is where like kind of now we're leading into that, like, oh my gosh, how incredible is it that one, cosplay was not a part of my life. It was not an identifier for me until just before that, and just like the year before that. And then, you've been into cosplay, and I kind of want to touch on that and like how it served you. And being a superhero is such a close thing to my life and my mission and my like who I identify with. And I hope you feel the same. So Heroes Con, when we were just like, let's take a picture, and then our world collided. And now we're sitting here a couple of years later, in this movement. I just think that's incredible. So like, let's talk about cosplay and those characters and who are people that you're drawn to.
I'm really drawn to like super strong, super female identified heroes, and I do lots of Supergirl stuff, and I do lots of Amazon stuff. X-Men, I really love Emma Frost. She's one of my favorites. Just like really strong, not just strong like physically, like with just, not strong in like their superpowers, but just strong in their character and strong in their ideals and their beliefs, and like how they root themselves and how all of that impacts, their universe is really what I love. And that's kind of how I choose passion projects to work on. I actually went to school, and I used to work for professional theaters, and I made costumes, and I kind of got into cosplay over that. I'm a long time nerd.
That's awesome.
I'm a huge cosplay fan, and I got started, kind of before I started my journey. So that was also a great motivator of like, well, you know, if you get to this sort of stage, you can be this hero, or, you know, the more and more you start working on yourself, you can actually embody this character that you love and that you enjoy and that makes you feel powerful. So I also really love Valkyrie.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I'm actually working on, it's a big secret, but not so much anymore. Geralt of Rivia for Heroes Con this year. Even characters that aren't female characters, it's still, I'm really attracted to strength and power. And that's really just a part of my personality. It always has been. But now even more so. So I'm sort of moving along in that journey.
Yeah, I remember like thinking about that because I had, joined the, there is a small cross section of muscle nerds.
Yes, yes.
Because I love them, and Gerald he's awesome. So he's really trying to drive that movement of like fitness and taking care of yourself, and also being really into this, nerd sector of comics and whatever else. And I just think that I remember it was like chicken or the egg. It was like, I don't know. It just happened all at the same time. Like people said I looked like Wonder Woman and behaved in character like Wonder Woman. And then it was like, okay, well, that's the first character I'll do, duh. And then it just kind of built on itself. And then it was like, okay, well, I'll put it on, but I want to be stronger and more into that. I want to live it. I want to do it. And so you just kind of become it along the way. And I just feel like that is just so true. For a lot of cosplayers, that they are drawn to the characters not just because of the project of making the beautiful costume, but it is because of the character there is. So it's such a cool understated community, how you can really connect with others, and it obviously led us to where we are now. So that's really great. And then you talk about these characters who are strong and, in their character and also in physique, oftentimes because they are superheroes. But like, what does that mean to be brave or strong in your life? Like, what does that look like for you? Because I really, in this movement, I want to define bravery is not something that's intangible. It's not just something that a superhero has, right? It is something that you can practice and build and move towards. So like, help me define it for people. Like, yeah.
Sure, I'll try. So for me, and I think we've talked about this before, you commit to doing something that seems kind of monumental at first. I committed to getting to a certain weight. I'm not ashamed to, at my heaviest, I think I was like around, I'd stopped weighing myself. The last time I weighed myself, it was about 240. And I knew I was above that. I knew I was probably pushing like 260. And I committed to myself, I want to be 150 pounds. That's what I want. And that's 100 pounds. And so it was like, it's not like you make the big choice and you're like, all right, I'm going to get healthy. And then you just do. Like all those little tiny increments of those individual little battles every single day of going, do you really need this? How is this going to serve you? Yes, you want 5 more minutes in the bed because it's cold, but is that really going to give you what you want later? Is that how you're going to feel about it later? And it's bravery. Sometimes I think people get this idea that like you have to be a superhero. You have to be standing in front of some monolithic evil and you're not afraid and you're ready and that sort of thing, but it's not. It's all those little moments that people don't necessarily get to see that really sort of sum up, I think, what it really means to be brave, because at the end of the day, there is no like monolithic evil. It's you, and it's about challenging yourself, and sometimes it's about challenging other people, and sometimes people will kind of come at you like that, but it's really about looking at yourself and knowing that you gotta like put yourself first sometimes, and you've got to maybe say no to things that you really want, but and that voice in your head gets so loud and mean, and it tells you that you're failing and that you're not worth it and that you're not good enough and all these other things, but you just have to be brave enough to realize that it's not true. And you have to be brave enough and say, you know what? No, you're wrong. I am, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
The ways I managed to do that was I left notes for myself everywhere.
Oh my gosh, yeah, tell me about that. Yeah.
I left little sticky notes on my mirrors, in the kitchen, in the cabinets, in the fridge, on my phone. Like I have an alarm every single day at 1 p.m. that goes off that says, change your attitude, change your life. Every single day at 1 o'clock it pops up and tells me that.
Yeah, like I'm staring at my wall right now, like neurolinguistic, like I'm tracking some serial killer, but yeah, that works.
Yeah, it does, and it helps remind you kind of in that moment when that voice is really loud that like, you know, you got this and you need to do this, and it's scary. It really is terrifying to say no to yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
Inside your head is what's protected you for so long. I mean, for me, you know, discussing it with my therapist, you know, she was like, Julie, your choice was develop an eating disorder or have a breakdown. Those were your choices. And that's what your brain chose to do because it's trying to protect you, because it wants to live. And, you know, so challenging that nasty voice in my head all the time is hard. And it takes bravery to tell yourself, you know, that you're worth something.
Yeah. And I love that you kind of pointed out a couple things. I think it is, we think we have to go out and do the big monumental things, which is the only part people will actually see. And it's actually the stuff that you have to keep your own integrity about. Did I get out of bed at 5 o'clock or was it 5:08? You know, like, did I actually like, you know, if you're measuring things out, did I eat, you know, 2 ounces of syrup or did I put more on my waffles this morning? It's just stuff like that you bend a little bit against yourself and then you give your power away to those voices. And also just like getting things out in front of you. And also I've started to say things out loud to myself, which was not what I had done before. And getting things out of this closed vessel and exposing it for what it was. Like once I released it out of my mouth, I was just like, wait, it's not that. That sounds
in your head. It sounds like so sure, and then when you say it out loud, you're like, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, like where did that come from? And it's almost like, you know, when you're in like doing hot yoga in the hot yoga studio, they say when you get too hot, breathe out with your mouth. Instead of just like keeping your mouth shut, they're like open your mouth and sigh out, right? And it'll cool you down. It is the exact same thing with your brain and your thoughts. In this conversation, it's like making that so clear to me. So I just love that you're just so intuitive and insightful on what your journey is, because that is what it takes. We have to learn how to tell our story so that way it does help sharpen and inspire someone else. So when we're talking about these things about you just gotta, you know, whatever it is, you have to define it and move forward in it. So yeah, like you had defined your why that was behind your things, you know, all of these, and it can be more than one reason, but it just, you know, it sounds like you had spent so much of your life caring for your father and your health was at risk and your life was at risk, right? So like that's just a big in your face, you know, kind of thing. And I relate to that because although my mom's breast cancer was not, you know, hereditary by testing, but it was just still like, okay, wake up, be aware, do something different. Don't put yourself in a position that it is also going to be your reality later. It can still happen, right?
Right.
So it's just incredible. Like when you find out your why, those little details kind of don't matter as much, like, because you're gonna be able to get there. So then what is it that has drawn you to the Moving Bravely movement? And let's start there.
Okay. Well, I mean, really, I think what's drawn me, and this doesn't sound cheesy, but it's you, because, you know, I think that you're amazing and you're wonderful and you're just really positive. And every time I see you, every time we get to meet in person at a convention or wherever, you're very positive and outgoing. And, you know, you kind of exude that ideal of, from the feet up, of leading from the core. And that is something I identify with. And I think that's, we're on the same wavelength. And so, when I saw you starting this thing, this awesome movement, this coaching business, this podcast, I just was like, oh, go girl. That is so awesome. It's something I wanted to do. And I just was like, this thing, I have to be a part of this. Yeah. It kind of felt like the right thing to do. It just sort of felt like this is where I belong. This is where maybe I can help people. I can reach out. I run a blog, I run my Instagram, but I feel like I only reach a small group of people, and it's usually the same people over and over again, which is totally fine. I mean, if they're gaining something from it, from listening to me rant about, I cried today and ate peanut butter cups, then so be it,
Yeah. Well, that's what I love that you said that, because it's your energy that draws me in and draws people in. And I think that you have super fans. Like, people, I mean, they do. They're like Powerhouse following your journey, and they've been there from the beginning. And I feel very similar about you to me. And it's incredible because, like, we are there. So we kind of wade through this life of like, everyone's so different from me. Everyone's so different from me. But when you kind of figure out what you're made of and like what your focus and your perspective is, people show up with that and share that with you. And so it's a perfect segue into, okay, so that I am building a community for women to find other women who are like them, who are cut from the same cloth, who are trying to be in this kind of vibration with each other and have conversations like this one. So what would you say for someone who is just hearing about Moving Bravely, and why should they follow? What should they be looking out for? In the community, is there any sort of thing you can offer on like why it's important to jump into a community of people rather than just trying to soldier alone? Just whatever your thoughts are for a new person coming in to this community.
I think my first thought for people would be that big leap out from the shadows is scary.
Ooh, yeah.
And if they can just, for a second, be brave enough to say, I want to be involved, or I think I want to be involved, or something about this feels right and I don't know how to express it, but in my gut, I know that this is something that is calling to me, I would say, just don't think about it, just do it. Just go with that instinct. It's built into you for a reason. I think having a community, especially a community of women who are banded together in this idea and ideal of bravery and strength, and that it doesn't mean that you have to be, an Amazon necessarily, though that's awesome if you are. But it's having a community of like-minded people around you is going to make things so much easier. It really helped me kind of find my tribe of people, of, people that were on the same wavelength, people that, some people call it vibration, some people call it, that sort of warrior spirit. You find those people in your life and you have to really band together with them, because they're not easy to find in the wild. Like, we found each other in the wild, which is crazy. There was something, in meeting you, and I don't know if you had this experience, of looking at someone and just sort of having this inner feeling of, they're like me. That woman is strong and capable, and that woman knows what she wants, and that woman goes out for the things that they want and they achieve their goals. That is the kind of person I want to be around, because that's the kind of person I want to be. And when you have that accountability with your group like that, with your tribe, it's only going to push you better. It's only going to help you, succeed, because not only do you want to succeed for you, but you want to succeed for them too. And I think that without that, can you do it? Sure. Is it going to be a lot harder? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's what, like, I really hooked into this idea, and I'm gonna just repeat it over and over again, mostly for me, because I think it's a good reminder, but it's just that Spartan warrior creed, and it's just this, the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in war. And I feel like if we can dig even deeper, another conversation when we get into like character, arcs and things, because I'm sure we'll be back talking with
Oh,
you later, but it's just incredible that the Spartan creed is just like, there is this common goal, this common, creed that they stand upon, and they're all the same. Like, they realize that they're different, sure, but they're all the same, and they all have to have the same standard and set the same, the bar so high, because they know they can hit it, and they don't know that they can hit it because it's just easy. They know they can hit it because they're going to train and train and train and look to the left and look to the right, and then train, so that when that battle does come, like losing a parent or going after losing 100 pounds, they know that it is going to hurt way less and it'd be way less difficult, because they have their tribe, or that those people around them. And so that is what we're aiming for. That's what we're shooting for when people are joining this community. It is every single person. It's not just a mass appeal kind of thing. It is very much built for people who are like you and me, and we're going to be honest about it, and we're going to be active in those communities. And I'm so excited because I'm hoping that people are also seeing your story and relating to your story and jumping on and looking at your blog from this point, and like, kind of going into watching your Instagram page, because you post so much about like the real stuff of working out and how you feel that day and what's going on. So I think that that's such a huge thing that's needed, because we don't talk about the messy middle.
No.
Because like, you're in this phase, I know that you're in this phase of just kind of maintaining and trying to just keep it on and try to define the next goal, and like, it's hard.
Even after losing, there were consequences to that. There are consequences to getting your goal, no matter what it is. Like, I struggled with hormonal imbalances after losing 100 pounds, to the point where my hair fell out.
Oh, girl.
That's why, I had beautiful, like super long hair. I loved it. It was gorgeous. And literally just, my estrogen level was out of whack. I had to start hormone therapy, which I'm still on. So it was really hard for me to, have to literally cut all of my hair off. I went to the lady and I had like a section about the size of my palm of my hand in the back that was like this short. It had literally just fallen out. And the poor lady was like looking through there, and she like came in, there's this huge lock of hair, and she was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "It's okay. It's cool. It's good.
Yeah.
Come here." And I really, like, had to cut my hair. Like, the front was probably almost to my chin, not quite. And after having long hair, and it's what I loved, what I wanted, and I was just so sad that I like felt like I had made my goal and I had done the thing, and I had, my goal was to get healthy. And then doing that, I had this setback of like these other issues that come up with reaching that goal. And it's just like, you kind of have to just keep going and realize that like that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, it's like, isn't that kind of the thing though? It's like, you go after this big why, and as long as you stay clear on why you were going there in the first place, then the unpredictable things, you're more resilient, and you're like, you know what?
I handled it. Maybe not well.
Yeah. I would not know what to do with myself if I'm just like, pieces. Just like losing, that's identity loss. That's everything. It's just like, you already went through identity loss with like your role in your life, and you're a daughter now grieving a father, and like all that's going on. And then you're like, yeah, well, I'm going to get healthy. And then you're like, okay, I'm healthy, or am I like, so it's all identity. And I feel like we're distracted by what it looks like on the surface. Like, your story looks a little different than my story, but it all involves identity and how we view ourselves and how the world views us. And we give a lot of power and credit to how the world's viewing us versus how inside, right? So just like, this questions of femininity, and like, how am I gonna and
where's the line, and can't you do both? you know. And
you talk a lot about that, and I'm so thankful, because it's something that took me a long time to come around, of being like, oh, okay, muscles are good. Women have muscles.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's
why, you know, like my Instagram, my tag is pretty strong.
yes,
Strong.
yeah, pretty strong and pretty strong. Like, it's just, oh, I just looked back at it, because I had like scrolled through to get prepared for the call, and I was like, yes, this is the messaging that the world needs to see. And you have a powerful story, even if it's for 900 and people, you know, some people who are following you currently. You have so many more to reach, and I hope that you just keep grinding and keep telling your story and showing up, because people need you to do that for them. And I'm so thankful for this is the first interview. Is this the first interview? Because it feels like this is like a master professional level like interview. It's just the way that you own your story, and the way you can share with energy but realness, and it's not all happy. It's just fulfilled, and like, you know your call, you know your mission, and you know where you're going. And yeah, women like you need a platform to speak from. So here we are. This is what it's going to be like.
This is it, man.
Yeah.
We're starting. This is it.
Yeah.
For you.
So where can people find you? Just to give a recap of like, where can they follow your blog? Like, where's the best place to find you on the internet?
Yeah. So you guys can always follow me on Instagram. My tagline is Powerhouse Barbie. And I picked that again because, you know, I love clothes, I love fashion, I love makeup. So I'm like very identified with Barbie. She's fantastic. You know, it's Barbie blonde life for me. Also powerhouse, because I'm strong and motivated, and a powerhouse in the gym and a powerhouse at work. That is just the way I like to operate. So you can follow me on Instagram. You can find a link in my bio to my blog, which I write in fairly frequently. It's one of my like big kind of coping mechanisms to, it's like a place for me to just get things out. It's part diary, part journey, part sort of advice, or like advice column type thing. That's powerlifting and OSFBD. And so you can find a link there. If you want to follow me for cosplay stuff, you can find me on Facebook at Jorrun Cosplay. It's JORRUN Cosplay. Yeah, and that's about it. I mean, I don't have a huge social media presence.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. I think that people will start to find their way to your outlets and your platforms there. And to close out, the last question I want to start asking everyone, I heard this from another place, you know, Jay Shetty does this rapid fire 5. But one of the questions that really stuck with me was like, okay, if you were to leave this world and you can only leave one piece of advice behind, the one thing that you would be known for that you could tell somebody, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Oh, that's a good question. The one piece of advice that I would leave someone, if I had a legacy, like what would that's
just let it roll. Let it roll.
To think about it, you know, the first thing that came to my mind is saying that I've said a couple of times, and you'd never heard it before. I use the saying from the feet up.
Yeah.
Means whatever you do it from the feet up, meaning from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. If you are in it, do it from the feet up, whatever you're believing in, whether that's your goals, your ideas, your ideals, your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, I don't care what it is. If you're in it, do it from the feet up, because that means you are completely immersed in whatever you're doing. And if you're completely immersed in whatever you're doing, you're gonna reach your goal. You know, so from the feet up.
From the feet up. I love it. Yeah, whatever is on brand for you. So yeah, you heard it here. Do everything that you can from the feet up, whatever your big passion points are. Involve everything about you, and you will not fail.
Exactly. So
thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so this will be the first of many. So let us know what you think about this interview. We will share in so many platforms. So yeah, let us know.
Bye.
Bye.
I am just blown away at the amount of bravery that a woman can have, and Julie has it. And I'm just so thankful that she is the kickoff guest on this podcast to tell her story. And when we tell our stories, we can help people see that they are not alone in what they're facing. And I cannot wait to have more guests on the podcast. So if you have any suggestions of people who are moving bravely in life and around you in your circles, please let me know. You can find me on Instagram, and it's Moving Bravely on Instagram. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. It's Moving Bravely there. And you can also, I'm on all the things. But those are going to be the main ways to get in touch with me. Let me know what you think about the interviews. And we are going to make this a podcast that is for you. It's by women who are like you, for women who are you. So that's where we are. And I am grateful, and I'm not building a business or a movement just for the sake of doing it. I'm building a legacy, and that legacy is my mother's legacy. And I'm just so thankful that you are allowing me to do that for her. So yeah, Lauren McGlamory with Moving Bravely, signing out until next time.